What's up, guys? My name is Crescent, and as we all know, Amazon is gradually taking over the world with Jeff Bezos at the helm. And back in July of 2020, while the world was amid a global lockdown, Amazon also decided to lock down their fulfillment centers and announced a new inventory storage limit policy. A lot of people initially missed this change and were blindsided by it when they tried to send in inventory and weren't allowed to. It seems that most people are getting their news from their Facebook feed these days. I mostly look at cat and dog videos. But to stay in the know and be on top of the Amazon news, you can find it in Seller Central under the news section. This is an area that you should really be checking up on at least once a month, as there can be changes that can adversely affect your Amazon business. Now, this is the article pertaining to the new storage limit. And I'm not going to read the whole article. You can read it on your own, and I'll leave a link to it in the video description below. But you can see here that Amazon changed the IPI threshold requirements to 500. This means that sellers that have an IPI score of 500 or less are subject to limitations effective August 16th, 2020. Well, it's 2021 now, and the limitation hasn't ended yet, and Amazon hasn't made any recent announcements about it either. I also want to point out that this limitation is at the ASIN level, meaning it doesn't just affect new sellers. This affects all products regardless if you're a new seller or not. And that limit is currently 200 units, meaning all new ASINs have a maximum storage limit of 200 units at any given time. Well, you may be wondering why Amazon would initiate such a drastic change. I believe this change was ultimately inevitable, but it was brought about a lot sooner due to COVID-19. Amazon's warehouse space is limited, and as online shopping grows more and more mainstream, that warehouse space becomes more and more valuable. And from Amazon's perspective, they want to utilize that space as efficiently as possible and only store inventory that's selling. Inventory that's just sitting around taking up space doesn't generate revenue. Besides the natural growth of online shopping, COVID accelerated online shopping when everyone was locked down and forced to find alternative methods to buy goods. Also, in anticipation of Q4, Amazon proactively limited the storage limits on new ASINs because Q4 is the busiest time of the year where all sellers are trying to take advantage of the holiday sales volume. So Amazon expects to see a lot more inventory being sent into their warehouses, including a lot of new products being introduced. That's why we're seeing this new storage limit policy, since warehouse space is limited and they don't want that space taken up by new products that have no sales history or proven sales history that the inventory will move and not just sit there taking up space. So how can you tell if you have any restrictions and how many units you can send into Amazon? Well, you can start by smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm and then logging in to Seller Central. Now, when you're on the Manage Inventory page, if you see an inventory dashboard link up here, you can just click that. But as you can see on my Seller Central, the link isn't here. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. I'm not sure exactly why it disappears sometimes. So if you don't have a link on your Seller Central, you can go back to this news article and click on the inventory performance dashboard link here, or I'll leave a link to it in the video description below. And so once you click it, it's going to take you to the inventory dashboard. And you'll see here, it shows the ASINs that have inventory storage limits. So in this case, I have this product here that has a current storage limit. And so you can see in this column, it shows you how many units you have and how many units you can send in. So if you click this little arrow, it pulls up this window, and you can see here, it says the maximum inventory level is 200 units. And I have 50 that I'm sending in already with a shipping plan, so it knows that. So it has a utilization of 50 units, which means I can send in an additional 150 units if I want to. Okay, so at any given time, I can have a maximum of 200 units, whether that's in stock or in transit to Amazon. Now, a pro tip here, there has been situations where if you've created a shipping plan already for, let's just say 50 units, and you forgot about it, and then you go and create another shipping plan, and let's say you want to send in the full 200 units in one shot, it's not going to let you because it thinks you have 50 already from that first shipping plan. So you want to go and delete that old plan so that you can create the new one for the full 200. Okay, so if you're launching a new product, what can you do? And what should you do? And what are your options? Well, there's two scenarios here. Either you're looking for a product to launch or you're preparing to launch a product. So let's tackle the first scenario first. If you're in the product research phase, there's a few things you need to consider. Most importantly is how long 200 units will keep you in stock before you need to reorder more units. For example, if you're projecting to sell 10 units per day, then 200 units is only going to last you around 20 days. 30 units a day will last you about a week, and so on. But keep in mind, you can always send in more units before you completely run out. So for example, if you get down to 100 units, you can ship more to Amazon to fill your inventory back up to the 200 unit limit. But remember, there's shipping time to consider as well as Amazon's processing time. So the timing may not work out perfectly and you'll still end up being out of stock for a few days or weeks. You always want to be mindful of your stock levels and try not to go out of stock, but if you do, minimize that time you're out of stock, as it will negatively affect your listing rank the longer you're out of stock. Your other option is to look at products that suit the new storage limit. Products that have lower sales velocity, that means products that sell around 4 to 5 units per day rather than the 10 or 20. That way, 200 units will last around 40 to 50 days. I do want to drive one important point home though. If you do go this route, you will need to be sure that you're still able to hit your profit goals. If you're selling less units per day, then that means the profit margin per unit needs to be higher in order for you to hit your profit goals. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If your profit goal each month is to make $3,000 and you're looking at products that sell 10 units per day, then you need to have a profit margin of $10. 10 units per day multiplied by a $10 profit margin means you're making $100 a day. So there's 30 days in a month, so that makes $3,000 a month profit. However, if you're targeting a sales velocity of 5 units a day, well, in order to make the same $3,000 profit each month, the profit margin now needs to be $20 a unit. Make sense? I know now you're thinking, Crescent, how am I going to find products that have a $20 profit margin? Well, of course, if you're looking at products that are selling in the $15 to $25 price range, you're obviously not going to find them. You're going to have to look at the more expensive products that are in the $50 and up price range. The advantage of looking at high ticket items is that these types of products are generally a barrier to entry to most people considering selling on Amazon. Most starters don't have enough capital to buy inventory for these high ticket products because these products typically cost much more. But because of the 200 unit limit now, if you do the math, if you purchase 200 units of a high ticket item, the costs are in fact not much different than if you were to buy, say, the typical 500 to 1,000 units of a much cheaper product. Products that are normally in the $15 to $25 price range. The other advantage is that the profit margin is higher with these high ticket items. This is where you can find the $20 or higher profit margins. Now, if you get lost with all this talk about profit margins and profit goals and units per day, well, I'll post a video in the description below that goes over all of these terms and how to properly develop a plan before you start your product research. An important step that most people fail to do. So make sure to check it out so you can set yourself up for success. All right, so moving on to the second scenario. If you're ready to launch a product and you have inventory ready to ship to Amazon, what are your options? Well, what you should do, of course, is send in 200 units to Amazon to maximize your inventory utilization. If you have more than 200 units, then you'll have to figure out what to do with that extra inventory. One option is to negotiate with your supplier and see if they're willing to store the extra units for you and ship out inventory as you need it. The problem with this is that if your supplier is overseas, like in China, the shipping time can be a while each time you want to restock. In my opinion, you should ship all of your remaining units to the US or whichever local marketplace you're selling in. You can keep them at your home, a storage unit, or at a 3PL service. You can also see if your freight forwarder can keep them in their warehouse if they have one. The benefit here is that since your stock is local, restocking is a lot faster. You can also offer FBM if you were to run out of stock at Amazon while waiting for your inventory to restock. You can do this yourself or through a 3PL service. This way, you lower your chances of running out of stock, which will hurt your listing rank. Restocking is as simple as sending in more units when you get low and keeping your inventory levels maxed out. For example, when you get down to 100 units, immediately send in another 100 units, so they're on their way. Now, what's it gonna take to lift that 200 unit storage limit? Well, your storage limit is tied to what's called your IPI score. The IPI score is your inventory performance index, and it combines the past 3 months of sales, inventory levels, and costs into a single rolling metric that updates weekly. So in order for your limit to increase, you need to have an IPI score of 500 or higher. However, Amazon recently released an update that you can see here, and they've slightly lowered that IPI score requirement to 450. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're stuck at the 200 unit limit until you hit 450. If you start moving sufficient inventory, I've seen Amazon slowly raise your storage limit until you get to 450 when they finally remove the storage limit altogether. And I've seen sellers get the storage limit increase as soon as 2 to 3 weeks after launching. All right, so lastly, I want to share with you what my thoughts are on the future of the storage limit. Well, the short answer is I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Although Amazon did state in their original announcement that the limitation will be effective through August 16th, 2020 until the end of the year. We are well past that now in 2021, and there's been no news or updates on this. I also believe it's in their best interest to keep this restriction as, like I said before, their warehouse space is huge, but limited. And I'm sure they want to keep non-moving stock at a minimum. So if you want to get in touch with me, you can find all of my contact details in the video description below, or I'd love to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment or question in the comment section below. I answer every single one. And as always, if you found value in this video, consider subscribing and do me a favor and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really does help me out and I appreciate it. And make sure you ring the bell so you never miss a video. All right, thanks for watching.